Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your dredge guy, and today we have something completely new, completely fresh. We have Satoru the Infiltrator infiltrating Blue Dredge, and this is something really new. This card was released on Magic Online yesterday, and I'm already testing it in a really crazy build with Thassa's Oracle and 3 copies of Poxwalker's main deck, no Icorids. But why I'm testing Satoru with Poxwalker's Thassa's Oracle, 2 copies of Dredge Return, what I am doing here? Well, tonight, when Satoru was released, I just started testing it in a traditional shell of Blue Dredge with 3 days, 4 Force of Will, etc. in Hogak. But then I tried to cast Hogak using Convoke and Delve, and with Satoru in play, Satoru didn't trigger. And then I was like in shock. Like, is this a bug or am I misunderstanding something here? Maybe Convoke is actually paying with mana somehow. I'm not a judge, I don't know. So I stopped doing the test with Hogak today. So no Hogak today, and instead we are going to the Oracle World. So let's see if we can hit the sweet combo spot to win with Thassa's Oracle. Because on the same tests last night, I really milled my entire deck easily after reanimating Satoru or after resolving a Satoru and keeping Satoru in play, of course. So we just have this combo approach with Blue Dredge that we didn't have before. And I think this is only theoretical, guys. I had no repetition with this deck. This will be my first time playing it. And I think this maybe is interesting. I don't know, maybe it will not succeed. Maybe this is just a dream. Actually, I dreamed about this deck. I woke up this morning and after those testing from last night, and I just I remember waking up, opening my eyes, and just my first thought in the morning was something like, what about Thassa's Oracle? Yeah, maybe I'm playing too much Magic to dream about Thassa's Oracle and Blue Dredge, but I don't know. I think I am just excited to play those cards. And I think you are excited as well, because this is really fresh. Satoru, if you don't know this card yet, I talked about Satoru a little bit on my last video. Be sure to watch this video after that. And Satoru will trigger every time one of your creatures enters the battlefield without being cast, or being cast without paying mana. So that's why I think the Hogak interaction is a bug. Let's wait a little bit to see if Magic Online will fix it. Or maybe I'm just wrong. Let me know your comments here. Let me know what you think. Hogak should work if you cast Satoru after Satoru, or Hogak actually you are paying with Convoke, so Convoke is like paying with mana, even if Hogak has just written in it that it cannot be casted using mana. So I'm confused. Let me know what you think about this. And we have 2 Dread Returns, 1 Thassa's Oracle plan here, and only 4 Forces of Will. So to fit this new plan, I just took the Daisies of the deck. So Daze is more reactive card, even more than Force of Will, because it puts us 1 land back. And since we want to keep casting cards here, even if we have Satoru, we want to cast a Satoru on turn 2 or turn 3. So I think Daisy is the obvious cut here. But I'm not sure. This is only test. This is testing, guys. What I'm doing here on this channel right now is playing a new test that I think can be a competitive list. But this is the very first draft of this new list. So I hope you enjoyed. I will publish this before I publish on YouTube. I will publish before for my patrons. So if you want to, in the future, if you want to know, if you want to be the first to know when I have a new crazy idea like this, you can just be my patron. Just go there now, and then come back here. And what else? We have 2 Harvester of Misery in the sideboard. This card is already a good fit in Blue Dredge, I believe, but I may be wrong. Let's test this card today. And Harvester of Misery enters the battlefield, giving other creatures -2/-2, but we will probably not cast this from our hand, of course. We'll just use the second ability to give in -2/-2 to Doughty Voidwalker, Elvish Reclaimer, maybe a Goblin Engineer, and other cards that we feel the need of just removing from the battlefield. And it can even be reanimated if we need to reanimate against creature decks. We can just include 2 copies. We have 2 Dread Returns, and we will easily find Harvester of Misery maybe on turn 2 or even turn 3. Since we have 3 copies of Poxwalkers, we have 4 Otherworldly Gazes, we have many flashback cards. I believe this is more or less reliable as a target to just get rid of creatures that can win on the next turn. So your opponent, for example, play Fiend Artisan and other mana dorks, and maybe Elvish Reclaimer, and they have 3, 4, 5 cards, and the next turn they will just resolve Natural Order, and you don't have a Force of Will. Maybe they have a Veil of Summer. So you just reanimate Harvester of Misery and win by eliminating every creature from the battlefield. If you already have a creature in the battlefield, like Narcomoeba, for example, and if you have 1 or 2 bridges, this will even give you some bridge triggers before bridge gets exiled. So this is all theoretical. Let's do some magic here. Let's go to a Legacy League, and I see you there. I hope you enjoy this. And this is YouTube, so click the like button, subscribe, leave a comment below about the Hogaki interaction with Satoru. I really want to understand this better because I'm not a judge. So if you know something that I don't know, please let me know that. And what do you think? And one good thing to write right now in the comments is, what do you think about this crazy Thassa's Oracle idea that I had just this morning, just some hours before recording this video? Is this a good thing? Is this a good fit if we actually can mill our entire deck with Satoru? Or maybe this is just too crazy and you don't need Thassa's Oracle at all? Let me know before watching the video, because if you think that this is a good or a bad idea after watching the video, there is no surprise, right? So let me know before, and you can even edit your comments after that. Well, I guarantee that we have some fun playing Blue Dredge 4.1 with Thassa's Oracle and Satoru and Harvester of Misery and 3 copies of Poxwalkers for the first time in a Dredge deck. Let's do it, let's go. Oh, and I have an amazing idea right now. Let's try to play Solitaire first before going to the Legacy League. Let's just play this on the Solitaire mode here on Magic Online to see if the game plan works before entering, because maybe if you have something a little weird, I can just change before going to the gameplay. Let's go. Okay, this is round 1. We are playing Solitaire mode. I will keep this hand. We have a good sequence of cards, and we have Force of Will protection. So we draw a Cephalid, perfect, and I will play my island and Careful Study, and then I will discard 2 Dredgers. And let's see if we can combo on turn 2 or maybe turn 3. Let's see. And since we have a Force of Will in our hand with a blue peach, this possibility is amazing, right? So Narcomoeba enters the battlefield, and now I will crack. I have exactly 7 cards in my graveyard. I will crack Cephalid Coliseum, targeting me. And then I will dredge 6 and dredge 6 again. And I will dredge 5 now. And now I will discard. Do we have Dredge Return there? No, but I will discard one of them. I will discard the one. Do we have any dredgers? We have. So let's discard Cabal Therapy and a Grave Troll. So this is turn 2, and we have a Force of Will in our hand, right? So yeah. If my opponent have a Wasteland, it will not work because we have a basic island. So now I will cast my first Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent, but since I don't have an opponent, it will target me, unfortunately. And for solitary purposes, my bridge will be exiled. So even knowing that, let's see if we can combo off. So now my bridge is exiled because one of my opponent's creatures died. And I will targeting Cabal Therapy, targeting me with Cabal Therapy. I'll name anything. Now I'll have 3 creatures. I will cast Dredge Return to return Satoru to the battlefield. So I'll sacrifice 3 creatures here. And Poxwalkers will come back, of course. And Satoru also comes back. Being in mind that I will have here more zombies, because my bridge would not be exiled in a real game. And Satoru triggers itself, so I will dredge 6. Okay, another Narcomoeba. Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. It will trigger Satoru. Satoru triggers again, so we will dredge 5. Okay, now I will cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. Unfortunately, my bridge will be exiled again, because this is Solitaire. But that's okay, we will try to win this turn. So I'll have a bridge trigger, and Poxwalkers will come back. Satoru triggers, I will dredge 5. Okay, we have 2 bridges. We don't have Thassa's Oracle yet. So yeah, we need to dig a little bit more. So Cabal Therapy will target me. And I can name probably here, since it's targeting me this time, I will name just a Grave Troll to put them back into my graveyard. This is turn 2, guys. And now I don't have ways to go more. We just fell a little bit short. Probably we would need just a 3rd Cabal Therapy, right? But our therapies, unfortunately, we have 2 therapies hiding there at some point of our deck. So unfortunately, no win on turn 2. Almost there. Let's go to our turn 3. And considering that we have a Brainstorm and a Dredge 6 here, we're just going to win, of course. Yeah, Thassa's Oracle is here. Just to be sure, let's play this Undercity Sewers. Let's see what we have. A Cabal Therapy, one of them. Okay, let's put it into our graveyard. And we have 4 cards in our deck. So I'll cast Cabal Therapy here, targeting me, sacrificing Poxwalkers. Unfortunately, our bridges will be exiled, but that's okay because we don't need them to win. And then we have some zombies, and we have our both Poxwalkers coming back, triggering Satoru twice. I would like to draw a card this time because my deck is almost empty. And these Poxwalkers also will draw a card. And with this Cabal Therapy, I name A Good Day to Pie. And now, since we have so many Cabal Therapies, we can take any Force of Will, Force of Negation. We are immune to daze here because we have a basic land. But yeah, our previous therapies targeting my opponent would be actually some good therapies just to discard my opponent's hand. And I still have a Force of Will here in my hand. Now I just going to target Thassa's Oracle to win. And since I don't want to trigger Satoru again, because I don't want to lose the game, I'll just order Satoru's trigger behind Thassa's Oracle trigger. And I don't want to put any cards on top of my library. And I just win the game. This is turn 3. This could be a turn 2. But 2 of our Cabal Therapies were behind our last 10 cards of the deck. And we had a Force of Will the whole time. So I'm expecting this to be just the beginning of a new layer of Dredge in Legacy. I'm not sure if we need Thassa's Oracle. I just want to test it. I think it's fun. I think it gives us another possibility of winning if we feel the need of winning on the same turn that we combo. Because sometimes we can just do it absolutely right. We'll have, I don't know, 20 zombies in play. And then my opponent will just play Tabernacle or maybe the One Ring or something that win the game for them. So having the possibility of winning on the same turn, it feels good. It feels good. It doesn't feel necessary, but it feels good to have this possibility. Of course, against some of some decks or some opponents, we can even take Thassa's Oracle from the deck if we don't feel this is reliable enough. So yeah, this was our testing. Let's go to real matches now. I'm excited to test Satoru and Harvester, but what I am most excited about is probably just to surprise opponents, thinking that they will have an extra turn, and they just lose with Thassa's Oracle before that. That will be fun. Let's see if we can put all of this game plan together. Okay, this is our first round. We are on the play. And this hand is unfortunately a mulligan. Let's try again. Okay, this is better. This is not the best, but it is better. I would like to have a better hand, but since we have 2 lands of the Worldly Gaze, Cabal Therapy, we can just put these Poxwalkers back with some luck if we find something that is Worldly Gaze, and we have 2 Cabal Therapies. I'll keep this hand. I'll put 1 Red Return back into my deck, and let's start. I'll play Polluted Delta, and I'll crack it on my opponent's upkeep. I like to do that because sometimes players, even on the first game, sometimes they have Force of Negation. So I'll just take a basic island here to be Wasteland proof, and I'll cast Otherworldly Gaze. Let's see what we'll hit. Okay, we hit good cards. I don't want Force of Will here, I don't have a pitch, but I will keep a Brainstorm on top. And let's pass the turn. Okay, my opponent plays Island, beautiful island, and passes. I will draw Brainstorm. I could of course try to just win here dredging, but I don't know, this basic island here, I'm not feeling safe right now. So I will play Cephalid Coliseum, of course, but let's see if my opponent have Force of Will there. I'll try to cast Brainstorm right now, just to be daze proof here. Okay, it resolves. So Dredge 5, and Dredge 6, and Dredge 5 again. Okay, we found Thassa's Oracle, 2 Narcomoeba, Poxwalkers, but of course our Cabal Therapies are here, so I'll just put 2 Cabal Therapies back, or maybe one of them, because if my opponent have Wasteland, they can just Wasteland my Cephalid Coliseum, and I want to have both Cabal Therapies to have Poxwalkers back next turn, but I have only 1 Dredger there, I have 3 in my hand. Okay, let's be bold here and let's discard both Cabal Therapies. Discard, no, let's put on top of our deck 2 Cabal Therapies. So Narcomoeba enters the battlefield, and my other Narcomoeba also enters the battlefield. Let's pass the turn here. If my opponents don't have a Wasteland, oh, they can have Stifle. If I remember, this opponent used to play with Stiflenought decks. Okay, just a Brainstorm. This is a Brainstorm in their main phase. If they don't Wasteland me, I'll definitely use one of my Cabal Therapies targeting them, naming Stifle. because, yeah, no wasteland, because I want to absolutely win the game on the next turn. I will try it. Unless my both Satorus be really on the bottom of my library. So let's start dredging 6 here. Oh, my opponent will do something. So no Stifle? Orange Champed. So maybe this is Cephalid Breakfast and not Stiflenought. Okay, I will not crack Cephalic Coliseum if this is what I think it is. So that's okay. I will not cast any spell. Let's just dredge 6 and attack. Okay. So we cannot do anything. I will just attack with 2 Narcomoebas, holding Cephalid Coliseum. Usually you will see Orange Chant only in combo decks, right? Like some Storm decks at some point used Orange Chant, but also Cephalid Breakfast. Okay, it is Cephalid Breakfast, and they are going for it. They probably used Orange Chant last turn because they saw our Thassa's Oracle there. Okay, so I would just always yield to this ability, and always yield to this ability. Let's see what my opponent is playing. And the only way I have to win this game now is targeting them with Cephalid Coliseum, if they are not careful enough. So yeah, Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. If they if they pay attention here and try to win with Thassa's Oracle having more than 2 cards in their deck, I can crack Cephalid Coliseum targeting myself, trying to hit exactly Force of Will plus blue card. It's not easy, but it is a possibility. Yeah, so my opponent is meeting their deck. Yes, Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. And another one. They already have Dredge Return, but no Thassa's Oracle yet. And they have a Cabal Therapy. Okay, 12 cards in their deck. 9 cards. Okay, Thassa's Oracle is there. They mill a little bit more. And now they try to win with 3 cards in the deck. So I cannot target them, of course, because if I do, it will not win the game. So I will target me. And we have Force of Will, but unfortunately no blue card. So I'll just discard 3 Dredgers. And I will try to hit this Dredge Return with Force of Will, but I don't have any blue cards. Okay, let's concede. Almost there. We had a good start, but our opponent's start was even better. So let's try again. Orange Chant is a really good card when you just need one more turn to win the game. So against this deck, Griff is probably good. Ashen Rider is probably good, especially on the play. Harvester of Misery. Is this the first time that we will try this? Because this can be even better than Ashen Rider, I believe. Because we just want to hit creatures, and they have 1 or 2 toughness. So maybe Harvester is secretly good in this matchup. Leyline of the Void is tempting, but my opponent can just bounce it, and they can just win with the Saga tokens, for example. So I don't like to have Leyline of the Void, especially on the play. And Ichorid is always a possibility because my opponent plays with Surgical Extraction. I will not play against Leyline of the Void. In some really uncommon occasions, my opponents playing Cephalid Breakfast also have Leyline of the Void, but this is really unusual, so I will not play around it. Let's sort by mana value. So let's stream a little bit of everything here. I'm including 1 Ichorid instead of 1 Poxwalkers. I will take 1 of my Dredgers, but never go less than 10 Dredgers. 10 is the minimum. And I will take 1 of my Bridges. We can still try to win a Thassa's Oracle. I will try it. So we need to take 2 more cards from our deck. You know what? Maybe Force of Will is not that good in this matchup. Since I am including uncounterable ways to deal with creatures, maybe Force of Will is not that good. So let's put a Bridge back, and let's put Golgari Thug back. Yeah, let's try this way. So we have Griff and Harvester of Misery. We are just going towards black instead of blue in this matchup. And bear in mind, this is my first time sideboarding with this deck. So let's see if this... Okay, we have an answer to my opponent's creatures. This is uncounterable. And we have 2 Cephalic Coliseums. This is a keep. This is not fast to do Earthing, but it is quite fast to have the ways to protect ourselves. So I will start with Undercity Silvers. Let's see what we can put, what we can mill. Now, Careful Study is a good card. Let's keep. And we pass the turn. My opponent also kept 7 cards. So this will be a good matchup. With the Saga, okay? So my opponent can reliably just win on turn 3. So now we draw Careful Study. I will play Cephalid Coliseum. I'll use it to cast Careful Study just in case we draw a Cabal Therapy. Let's see if my opponent will counter this. No? Okay. So I will discard 2 Dredgers. And I will already cast this Otherworldly Gaze since we are resolving spells. My opponent cannot daze. Okay, another Harvester. This is interesting. Okay, next turn I will probably hold Harvester of Misery. And I will have access to only 1 black mana. So my next turn, Bridge of course will be put into my graveyard. Cabal Therapy is interesting here because I will have a Harvester for next turn, and then another Harvester on the next turn. But because if my opponent just plays a land and pass, I know that they have Step Through. So Cabal Therapy is interesting. I will keep both of these cards on top, and let's pass the turn. Okay, my opponents don't know that we don't have Force of Wills, so they may see this as okay. They have Cephalid Illusionist. So we have an answer. Let's draw. Do we still draw it? Yeah, let's draw. Let's draw Cabal Therapy. So, since my opponent had turn 2 Cephalid Illusionist, I will... Do I do anything here? Because my opponent probably... Well, they don't have Stifle, right? This deck don't play Stifle. And yeah, let's make them go for the combo. And then I will disrupt the combo just activating Harvester. I think this is this is smarter, I mean. So they search for an artifact card. They found it, a Shuko. Okay, they will play something before activating that. Yeah, because Shuko has equip 0, but this is a sorcery. So let's see what they will play before trying to go for the combo. About Therapy targeting me. They will never get it right, but do I let them do it? Okay, yeah. Let's see what they will name here. If they name Harvester of Misery, this will be really weird. Just Brainstorm, okay? Now what? Okay, they are trying to combo with Shuko. They will mill 3 cards, but we could do this before they mill 3 cards, right? But maybe they will mill just the good cards. They will definitely not win because of this. This is working? Is this working? Okay, my opponent is just letting this go. Unfortunately, we lost our bridge. But yeah, maybe I could... Yeah, this was probably a punt. I could just wait to mill this bridge since I was expecting to use Harvester. But well, this is my first time playing this. So it's normal to just don't have the right spells, the right names all the time. And we have a Dredger. Let's see what else my opponent will play. A Ponder. So in response, I will cast Otherworldly Gaze. And my opponent had an Narcomoeba, so it was definitely better to just target my opponent's wizard in response to their fetch land. Oh, they will daze my Otherworldly Gaze. That's fine. And I will just press F6. My opponent knows that we don't have nothing. But we have another Harvester on top, and I will definitely hold it. Okay, we draw. Okay, a Harvester of Misery. And now I will just pass the turn here. Do I cast Cabal Therapy instead of holding Harvester? Or maybe if my opponent don't do anything scary, I just cast an Otherworldly Gaze, right? Yeah. I would love to have a second land here to be really, really prepared against Thassa's Oracle win. Because with 2 Cephalic Coliseums, my opponent probably don't win the game unless they have Urza Saga tokens, many of them. So my opponent surveils. So let's find a fourth land. Or any neighbor, really. Okay, my opponent did nothing. And they milled Polluted Delta. So let's play cast Otherworldly Gaze. I believe this will probably resolve. Yeah, and we have a Narco and a Grief. Great. Great cards. Let's keep Grief on top. Narco enters the battlefield. Maybe my opponent have something like Surgical Extraction. They will probably target Narcomoeba. Okay. But we can win without Narcos. It will be harder, but we can. Now we will not have a Grief on top anymore, so I will just Dredge probably. My opponent knows now that we have another Harvester. Let's be in mind that we can cast Dread Return targeting Harvester, so in the future we can easily just kill many creatures at once. I can just have Poxwalkers coming back right now, right? Instead of cracking Cephalic Coliseum. So let's Dredge 6 first, let's see what we'll find. Okay, now what? I'll probably hold Harvester. My opponent has a Cabal Therapy. They can sacrifice Narcomoeba targeting me just to take my Harvester. They can do it. My opponent have only 4 cards in hand. If I cast an Otherworldly Gaze, these Poxwalkers can come back. But I can do this on my opponent's end step. So let's just pass the turn again. This feels like a control matchup and not a combo versus combo. So my opponent draws. Play Urza Saga. This is a win condition for my opponent. And will attack me. So this Harvester doesn't feel that good anymore because my opponent can just win with constructs. Okay, let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. It will trigger my Poxwalkers. Let's see if my opponent have a second Surgical Extraction. They don't. Let's see if they have White Removal. Oh, Brainstorm is great. And my 4th land is also great. Okay, I will probably keep the land and not Brainstorm. Yeah. we can try to win. Since my opponents don't have any more any else going on here, we can try to win next turn. It will be not easy because we have only Poxwalkers now. Do I include? Did I include an Ichorid? Let's see. Yeah, so we have only those 2 Poxwalkers. We can have some zombies. We need to find our Dread Return and Satoru to try to win the game in this turn. Let's see if we can do. So I kept a land. Let's draw it, and I'll crack this land, fetch it, or an Underground Sea, and I'll crack 1 Cephalid Coliseum, targeting me. We have 2 Cabal Therapies already. Let's dredge here, here. We have Satoru, and we have a Dread Return. That's great. So I will discard Poxwalkers, Cabal Therapy, and Grave Troll. Now I will cast Otherworldly Gaze. Oh no, actually I can just crack my other Cephalid Coliseum. I have only 15 cards there. We already have Thassa's Oracle. Yeah, we have 2 Dread Returns. We already milled 1 of them. I would like to see if my opponent has something first, just in case. So can I just crack this? Yeah, because we have ways to go further. So if I am playing a little bit slower than I usually play, it's because I just want to be really right about my play here, because I don't want to, I don't know what my opponent can do, right? But let's see. I'll probably name something really weird here, like Source to Plowshares. But oh, my opponent can have, of course, Force of Negation or Force of Will, right? So let's just name Force of Will, because I didn't resolve any spells before that. And I have Force of Will and 3 lands. Okay, so the path is clear. Can we win this turn? I'll definitely try. So yeah, we have 1 Cabal Therapy, 2, yeah, we have the win. Just, let's just not lose, right? I'll crack the Cephalid Coliseum. We just need to find Thassa's Oracle. So dredge 6, we'll dredge 4, and now, okay, we don't even need Satoru to win here. Oh, Thassa's Oracle is already there. The whole, yeah, let's just, there are so many new things going on. Okay, so we can just discard 3 cards and win with Thassa's Oracle right now. This is my first time winning with Thassa's Oracle. Actually, it's my first time playing that card. So yeah, we just reanimate Thassa's Oracle. Take that, Cephalid Breakfast. Take that. Who is the best Thassa's Oracle deck right now? Huh? All right. The Poxwalkers comes back, and Thassa's Oracles will not scry anything, and we win. Woo! I know, guys, this seems silly, but this is my first time winning with Thassa's Oracle in my life, and now I get it. Now I get it. All right. So this was turn 6 because it was a really grindy game after my opponent target surgical on my Narcomoebas, but we won anyways. Now, do we change anything? My opponent now knows that we don't have Force of Will. Do I change my game plan to include Leyline of the Void, for example? Or maybe to include Force of Wills? I still don't think Force of Will is that good in this matchup. My opponent will have, especially on the play with Daisies, my opponent will not... my opponent will have more counterspells than my deck. So I will include Leyline of the Void now. I will keep Grief. Harvester was so good, but now my opponent knows about it. Can I take 4 cards of my deck without harming that much? If I include Leyline of the Void, I will probably just take Ichorid since I am the draw. Harvester is still good when my opponent just have a turn 2 combo. Grief is good if my opponent have a Surgical Extraction. But now I'm not on the play anymore. Grief is good if my opponent have the combo as well. We didn't need Satoru to win, right? So I will take 1 Satoru, 1 Ichorid, and I need to take 2 more cards here. I can definitely take Satoru, especially because we are on the draw. And just keep Thassa's Oracle as a winning condition. And I can take Satoru and Dread Return. I know, I'm testing Satoru, but in this situation, I'm trying to include 8 cards here. And my opponent will maybe target Dread Return with Surgical Extraction, and I cannot win the game anymore with Thassa's Oracle, but I can definitely win with zombies. So yeah, let's try to win this way. Now we have Poxwalkers, Dread Return, 1 Thassa's Oracle, Bridges, Narcomoebas, Cabal Therapies. This is probably one of our best configurations on the draw. Oh, this is interesting. We have Grief and we have Leyline, but no lands. My opponent kept 7. This is so tempting. I will probably keep it, because I can even Grief my opponent twice if I feel the need. But I need a land. I cannot win without lands. But this have so many of our cards, and my opponent is keeping 7 cards. So yeah, I will keep it and hope for the best. Let's put Leyline of the Void in play. And now my opponent needs to win with Urza Saga. They crack a fetch land for Tundra and play Nomads and Core. Okay, let the beats begin. We draw another Careful Study, so let's start by casting this Grief Exiling Golgari Thug, and let's see what's going on. It resolves. Choose Surgicals, alright. So let's take one of them, or do I take Force of Negation instead? Yeah, I can take Force of Negation, so my second Grief will resolve. My opponent has Urza Saga, so we will need to draw something. We need to draw a land ASAP. So let's take one Force of Negation. So my next spells will resolve for sure. And I'll cast my second Grief. And I'll take one Surgical. Let's take one of each, because my opponent don't play Wastelands. So if I draw a land, and I need to draw a land, we can have a one Careful Study countered. That's not the end of the world. Okay, my opponent plays Urza Saga, and now they have Surgical, Force of Negation, and an unknown card. Now we draw land, Brainstorm. Let's pass the turn. If we lose this game to Urza Saga constructs, I have no regrets. I think it was a keep. We have 14 lands. Sometimes we will without finding them on time, but I think it was a keep. Maybe there is an argument to not just fire both Griefs on turn 1. Oh, Pithy Needle. This is probably naming Cephalid Coliseum. That's fine. Harvester of Misery. Oh, of course. Harvester of Misery is... okay, but we don't need to worry about the combo, right? We have a better card here. So let's play Careful Study. Let's see if my opponent found another blue card. Oh, they found a Step Through. Okay. Now I know that my opponent has only Surgical Extraction. And we have other 2 enablers to cast next turn. Maybe we found something else. My opponent will not have any Saga Constructs. So this is just a tutor for Shuko. Oh, Soul Guide Lantern, they have it. Okay, so they have Soul Guide Lantern. Most of the Cephalid Breakfast players usually don't play this card, at least in my book. But now they have Soul Guide Lantern and Grief. And Surgical Extraction, I'm sorry. So anything will resolve here. Do I cast Careful Study or Brainstorm? I think I'll cast Careful Study because I already have 2 cards to discard and maybe force my opponent to crack Soul Guide Lantern. Another Leyline. So let's put Golgari Grief Draw and Leyline of the Void. Let's see if they fire Soul Guide Lantern or Surgical Extraction. If I was my opponent in this situation, I would probably fire Surgical Extraction on the Dredger just to have sure about what I have in my hand if they want to resolve something. Yeah, and they doing exactly what I said. I'm not saying that is the best plan. The best plan would be probably be patient and see what else I will mill before doing Surgical. Let me dredge. At the end of the day, you have a Soul Guide Lantern, right? But my opponent fired their Surgical Extraction, and now they have only the Soul Guide Lantern, so we'll have to force them to cast it. Let's cast Careful Study here. Okay, 2 Cabal Therapies and a Dread Return. Knowing that my opponent will at some point exile my graveyard, what are the worst cards here that I don't need to win the game? I have only 1 Dread Return in my deck right now, so this is my winning with Thassa's Oracle. Bridges, I have others, so I can just discard Bridge. Yeah, this would be my first Bridge from below. So 1 Cabal Therapy and 1 Bridge. Yeah, let's try it this way. We need more lands here. With more lands, we can do more things, including casting a Cabal Therapy targeting ourselves to put Stinkweed Imp into our graveyard after Soul Guide Lantern exiles our graveyard. My opponent is hitting me 1 point of damage at a turn. 2 now. So this is a 6 or 7 turn clock. We have ways to protect ourselves before that. Let's see. Okay, Stinkweed Imp is a good start. I'll cast this Brainstorm here. We need more lands, and we found them. So yeah, if I put something in my graveyard right now, my opponent will probably crack this Soul Guide Lantern. So let's help them to do it, right? I'm not sure what I will mill here. I believe I'll put Stinkweed Imp and Dread. This is our 3rd Careful Study already, right? And how many other legacies? This is our first. Oh, this is our last Careful Study. So I'll keep it. I'll put Stinkweed Imp and Dread Return, and I'll cast Underground Sea, and I'll pass the turn here. I'll cast Other Legacy on my opponent's upkeep now. I know it doesn't matter, but I'm just trying to put some interrogation on them. And I will mill only Stinkweed Imp. Let's see if this is enough so they can do something. And I will keep 2 cards on top. Of course, if they don't crack Soul Guide Lantern, I will just mill 5 more cards and have Stinkweed Imp in my hand to rebuild my graveyard after that. So they ponder first. But this is really tempting to just crack Soul Guide Lantern here, because if they don't, I could crack at instant speed at any point. Even after they targeting me, I could crack Cephalic Elysium just to have Nakomoebas and try to win with them. So yeah, my opponent is trying to exile my graveyard right now. Oh, they found another Urza Saga, so this is going to be good. I don't have a Dredger, so I need to cast this Careful Study. That's fine. Now what? My opponent don't have any cards, so this Cabal Therapy will be... Those Cabal Therapies will be discarded if I don't find a Dredger. I will discard Dredge Return and Cabal Therapy. I will keep Basic Swamp. Thinking about it right now, this Basic Swamp was in the deck before I including Thassa's Oracle, so I should probably change it back to a Basic Island. Yeah, because I changed my deck idea for Thassa's Oracle game plan at the last minute. So this is probably just a Basic Island in the future. Okay, my opponent will hit me for 2, dealing 2 damage, and having Urza Saga next. My opponent just cast a Brainstorm in the main phase. Now we need to draw something. Oh, the early gaze is fantastic. Because my opponent probably will have Shuko here. I don't know, maybe they have a second Soul Guide Lantern. I hope they don't, but they can have. Okay, I cannot, because this is not an island, I cannot crack Cephalic Elysium this time. Yeah, this Basic Swamp definitely is going to be a Basic Island. This Basic Swamp is from another game plan that I had with Satoru the Infiltrator, but in this build, this is definitely another Basic Island. So I will cast the early gaze right now. Maybe find an Narcomoeba. Yeah, we hit Narcomoeba and Dredgers. That's great. That's great deck building. Alright, Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. And now I will probably cast other early gaze now. Yeah, since I have a blocker. Okay, we have Brainstorm on top. This is not that bad. Do I keep it? Oh, this should be a Basic Island. That's so unfortunate. But I think I'll still keep Brainstorm on top. Because after that, I'll probably have the win. But it's... Since I don't have many Dredgers right now, I probably should keep something else. Yeah, and I'm thinking too much in this game because it is so exciting to have different game plans available. Oh, do my opponent have Thassa's Oracle? Do they have Thassa's Oracle in their hand? I will not pass a turn if they do. I hope they don't have Thassa's Oracle in their hand. Yeah, I don't want to sacrifice this Narcomoeba because if I do sacrifice my Narcomoeba, I'll just lose 2 Construct tokens. So, oof, they don't have Thassa's Oracle. Because they could just exile the whole deck and cast a Thassa's Oracle. Okay, 2 Shukos. That's bad. Can I win? Can I win, please? Okay, since they have 2 Shukos, they will probably put 1 of each Shuko, equip the weaker creatures. Oh no, just both on Nomads and Core. Okay. I see, then they will not attack with Cephalid Illusionist. But I cannot block Cephalid Illusionist. Oh no, they will attack. Okay, so I definitely need to block the Construct token here, just to survive. And since my opponent has the win with so many creatures, I will not draw Brainstorm anymore. I will just dredge 5. Okay, now I will crack Cephalic Elysium. Let's see what we can put here. We'll dredge 5, we'll dredge 5 again, and we'll dredge 4 this time. Okay, 3 Bridges, Poxwalkers. Okay, so we will not lose next turn unless my opponent have exactly Thassa's Oracle in their hand. We have Poxwalkers, we have many therapies. We have many zombies here. Let's cast Cabal Therapy targeting them. I will name Days here because we are tapped. They have only 1 card. It's a Cabal Therapy, okay? So let's take this Cabal Therapy from their hand. And now we have blockers, many blockers. Okay. Cabal Therapy will name Cabal Therapy. Alright. And now I will definitely cast other Cabal Therapies here just to have more blockers if I feel the need to kill some creatures here. Because I have only 2 life. Bird gets the worm. And let's do this again. And Poxwalkers comes back. This Poxwalkers synergy with Cabal Therapy and Reach from Below is fantastic. It's so much better than what we used to do before Poxwalkers. Okay, so I have only 3 minutes on the clock. I will not cast Dredge Return because I will save this for Thassa's Oracle in case we reveal Thassa's Oracle next turn. And we will reveal many cards because we have Otherworldly Gaze. So we cannot mill 10 cards next turn, but we can mill 8 cards. So we have 80% winning. A percentage of 80% of winning possibilities next turn. I'm thinking in Portuguese, not in English. Come on, you not draw exactly Thassa's Oracle, right? Right? My opponent is thinking here. Because I can just win attacking with zombie tokens, right? So, okay, just a land. Thank you for having me knowing that. So we can win by attacking in 2 turns, or we can win with Thassa's Oracle. Let's try to win with Thassa's Oracle. Okay, we have Thassa's Oracle. So let's mill some more cards with Otherworldly Gaze. Yeah, and Poxwalkers comes back. My opponent sees Thassa's Oracle and Dredge return. They don't have anything. My opponent is considering everything. We have even a Harvester there. And my opponent concedes the game because they see that we will win with Thassa's Oracle. Again, take that Cephalid Breakfast. Two wins in a row with Thassa's Oracle against the Thassa's Oracle deck. Okay, that was amazing. Let's see if we can put even better results on our next match. If you enjoy my content, I will encourage you to go check my Patreon. This way you can help me as a content creator, but also have access to all my articles, sideboard guides, new videos, and also everything that I discover about Dredge. When I build a new deck like this one, you'll have access first. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Now, back to the games. Okay, this is our second match. Yes, we are on the play. Oh, we have Force of Will, Thassa's Oracle, and Satoru in hand. Unfortunately, this hand is a mulligan, unfortunately. Because we don't have any dredgers and any enablers, but almost there. I would like to play Satoru from hand, but this is not the time. That's mulligan. Okay, this hand is so much better, of course. Oh, the basic swamp coming back to haunt us again. This should be a basic island and not a basic swamp. This is, I just copied the mana base from my another testing with Satoru, so this should be a basic island. But that's okay, let's skip this. And I will, okay, let's keep the basic swamp, unfortunately. Do I keep it? I'm not sure, actually. Yeah, because at least this will allow us to cast a second Careful Study around days if we don't hit another land. But that's really unfortunate. This should be a basic island. Let's put Red Return back. And my opponent is mulligan to 6 cards. To 5 cards, okay? Is this a combo deck? Okay, let's start the game. Or maybe they were just trying to hit Graveyard Hate because I'm a non-player for my Graveyard decks. Okay, so Careful Study. Is this resolving? Yes, it is. Oh, we have Cabal Therapy to cast on my next turn. So, okay. Let's just discard Graveyard Withdrawal and Poxwalkers. And let's see what my opponent have with their 6 cards. Okay, my opponent just plays Wasteland. Yeah, this should be a basic island, unfortunately. Now what? Do I just go for the slow dredging plan? I think I'll do, since I have a Force of Will here. My opponent probably is playing a tempo deck of some kind. Yeah, and my next rolls would be really bad if I just try to hit something. Now what? I can, with this basic swamp, I will cast a Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. I will name something like Dragon's Ray Channeler here, because if this is Delver, this is probably one of the best cards that my opponent can have after that. Okay, no, this is a blue-black deck with Reanimate, okay? My opponent can even reanimate my Golgari Thug next turn. So I will probably... Okay, my opponents have Daze, and Daze can counter my Force of Will. So let's take Reanimate now, before my opponent can put something into the graveyard. So let's take Reanimate, okay? And I will pass the turn. This should be a basic island. I may lose this game because of that. Okay, let's concentrate here. Pollute Delta. My opponent found an Underground Sea and plays the Stalker. It will be a 2/2. Now we draw, or better saying we dredge. Okay, Narcomoeba. This is good. Do we attack? We have only 1 Breach from below in our graveyard. And now we have a Force of Will to cast targeting Orcish Bowmasters to counter Orcish Bowmasters or anything. I probably attack here. I will not hold just 1 breach. I will not protect a single breach from below. If my opponent wants to block, they can block. Okay, they will block the zombie token. And both dies. And now I have 4 power in the battlefield. So guys, this is me from the future. I accidentally hit my microphone and got muted. So I'm just, I'm editing the video and now I'm talking about my plays here. I will not counter Brainstorm, of course, and even Ponder. This Force of will be saved for the future, because I need to counter some of my opponent's best plays that will stop me from winning the game. And the cantrips are not dead. The good thing is that we can play around days the whole time, because we have a basic land. And now I will dredge 5 and attack. We can cast 2 Cabal Therapies even without bridges after attacking here. So let's attack first, and I can strip my opponent's hand with both Cabal Therapies. This will help me to resolve this Force of Will in the future. And even without resolving that Careful Study, we can win the game. I will name Orcish Bowmasters here. And let's see if my opponent has something else. Okay, they have this new card, Caustic Bronco. This is a Snake Horse mount. And this is something similar to Dark Confident in this deck, if attacks, of course. So my opponent is also testing new cards, and that's great. I always enjoy to play against new ideas, and as you already know by now, right? And this card is interesting. If it attacks without being settled, this will just draw a card like a Dark Confident does, but it can be even better. So now I am casting my second Cabal Therapy. My opponent will try 2 days, of course. I will pay for that. These days look something like trying to... maybe if I just cast Cabal Therapy and press F6 or something like that. I don't know, because of course I will pay for these days, right? And then... or maybe just to put an extra card in the graveyard, because my opponent can have Murktide Regent. And this would be smart to have a big Murktide coming back next turn. Maybe. And here I can pass the turn. My opponent told me in the chat, oh, my snake. Oh, and they do have a Murktide Regent. So I will counter this Murktide Regent with my Force of Will. And now the game is over. Of course, my opponent can top deck something, but I will hit them for 4 more damage. And I have Dredgers. Yeah, this game is over. My opponent concedes. So let's go to this sideboard. How to sideboard against an unknown blue-black tempo deck. This is similar to Delver, of course. Let's see. I could include the new card, Harvester of Misery, but I don't think we need that card against aggro creatures. And Leyline Void is always a possibility against the Murktide Regent, but we are favored against those decks, so usually we don't need Leyline. And we can take 1 Dread Return, of course. We can include Ichorid, because Ichorid is super good against tempo and fair decks in general. If my opponent have Surgical Extraction, for example, they can target Poxwalkers or Nakamweba, and I still have 1 Ichorid. If they target my single Ichorid, I have other creatures. So yeah, and Harvester of Misery is consideration, but I don't think we need Harvester of Misery here. But well, we can of course take Force of Will from our deck and include more threats, because my opponent is on the play. It will have more counterspells than we do. So maybe including more threats, more variation, of course, in case my opponent have Surgical Extraction. So maybe even the Thassa's Oracle plan, I'm not sure if we should keep it, because my opponent can always use some weird card in response. I'm just looking here if we can see something different about my opponent's deck. And yeah, we can do many things here, and we will probably be favored even if we include Grief instead of Force of Will, or I don't know. My opponent can have Doughty Voidwalker, and in this case, Harvester of Misery will be good. And I really want to test this card, so maybe we should include Harvester. Yeah, let's take Force of Will from our deck. Let's keep 2 Harvester, 1 Ichorid. We have 2 other spots to fill. I can put Poxwalkers back, of course. I can put 2 Grief. I think Grief is good, but Poxwalkers is also good. Grief is debatable because my opponent can reanimate my Griefs, right? If my opponent have Reanimate, or maybe even Animate Dead, and they can just reanimate my Grief. So let's keep only 1, I guess. Of course, this is a testing. I'm not sure about it. Yeah, but let's just keep a single Grief instead of 2. Because I don't know what else to cut. I think we already had our cuts. So, okay, is this a mulligan? Unfortunately, it is a mulligan, because we have our tapped land, and this is no good. This is also a mulligan, unfortunately. Okay, this is our best hand so far. We will keep. Can we keep Grief with this hand? I will put... I don't think we can keep Grief here. Unfortunately, Grief is really good, but I don't think we can keep it. Maybe. I will definitely keep 2 Careful Studies and a Golgar Grief Troll. I can keep only 1 land and put this back. But now what? Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we can keep Grief here. If we keep Grief and don't draw a black card, this will be really awful. Yeah, let's keep both Dredgers and 2 Enablers. This is no good because my opponent will probably have Daze or Force Effect or maybe Grief. Yeah, Grief. Grief is coming. They will take 1 of my Careful Studies here. Let's hope for no Reanimate. Okay, no Reanimate. Now it's our turn. Another Dredger, okay. I'll crack Misty for a basic island. Let's try to resolve a Careful Study. No, we can't because they have Ponder. Do my opponent want to reanimate their Grief? Wasteland, okay. Caustic Bronco, okay. Let's take the hits. Let's see if this will be a Dark Confident or something even better for our opponent. Oh, they have Daze as well, okay. My opponent probably cannot settle this in this turn, so this will be a Dark Confident, attacking for 2 and drawing a card. Okay, a land. This is good. This is a trained snake, and my opponent will Surveil again. They liked what they saw. Now it's our turn. We draw Otherworldly Gaze. I will try to cast it immediately. Okay, it resolves. Narcomoeba and Otherworldly Gaze will be milled. And do I keep Undercity Sewers? Probably, because at least is an extra trigger and can find me something else. I could keep one Otherworldly Gaze, but at this point I just want lands and I try to hit other things. I think it's probably right to keep my tapped land. Okay, my opponent shuffles, this is good. And now they will attack for 2. What they draw? Another land. That's good for my opponent. Good for him. Okay. Okay, now it's our turn to draw that land. Let's play it. Okay, another Otherworldly Gaze. Our 3rd in a row. Okay, now what? I'll mill it. I'll mill it. Let's force my opponent to crack this Wasteland. I will attack here. I will not block a 2/2. Let's see if they want to crack Wasteland, right? I think they will probably crack it because they are drawing so many lands. Now they have Reanimate. So can you reanimate your grief? Can you? Can you? I dare you. I dare you. Okay, Brainstorm. And my opponent will crack the Fetchland maybe? No, just play another Underground Sea. And now they crack Flooded Strand for another Sea. Oh, Hearse. Okay. So no Surgicals, just unlicensed Hearses. And now they destroy my non-basic land. So no Reanimate. We draw an Narcomoeba, that's awful. But let's be realistic, guys. I will not win this game. I'm curious to see what else my opponent is playing, but I will not win this. Let's concede here. Unfortunate. My opponent is having so much card advantage, and also with this resolved Hearse there. I don't want to reveal anything else. Let's go to our next game. Now we will be on the play. And now that I know that my opponent have Hearse, I will include my second Grief. And on the play, maybe Force of Will is better. Let's consider that. Okay. Harvester of Misery is not that good anymore, now that I know my opponent's game plan. We didn't see any really dangerous creatures to target with it. What else? Do I still keep Eco Read instead of Forces? Since my opponent's game plan is with Unlicensed Hearse, I don't think Eco Read is necessary. Of course, my opponent can have 1 or 2 Surgical Extractions, but let's keep Eco Read out of this equation. Of course, I can just change 1 Poxwalkers for 1 Eco Read. Maybe this is wiser. And I'm including 2 copies of Grief. Now what? Do I keep only 2 forces? Maybe I can take Eco Read for Force of Will. I really like to play with 4 forces when I have Force of Will in my deck. But this is a new thing. Yeah, let's try like that, but yeah. Because I don't want to take anything else from the deck. I could take the Thassa's Oracle plan, but I'm testing it, right? So this is a deck test. So I don't want to take too many times Satoru and Thassa's Oracle from the deck. So let's start on the play with a better hand, please. And a better hand this is not. Unfortunately, we'll mulligan. Oh, this is so bad. My opponent kept 7 again. Let's mulligan to 5. Okay, this is our best hand so far. We will put Thassa's Oracle, of course. Do I cast a blind Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent? I will probably just try to resolve Otherworldly Gaze, right? And then I see what else I do on my next turn. So I'll probably put Stinkweed Imp here and try to hit a Dredger with Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, so I'll crack this and let's go to my opponents. Of course, they can have Reanimate, but I'll try to hit things here. Okay, let's put Thassa's Oracle into my graveyard, Stinkweed Imp into my graveyard, and let's keep Grief. My opponent plays Underground Sea and ponders. Okay, so they kept 7. They may have Force of Negations. They shuffles their library. Okay, they may have something here. I will draw Grief, and let's... Do I even show Cephalid here? I don't think I will show because my opponent can have Wasteland, so let's just Grief here. And if they try to Surgical me, I can cast Brainstorm in response. Okay, it will resolve. Okay, they have Daze, Force of Negation, Caustic Bronco, Brainstorm. Noted. Let's take Unlicensed Hearse. They are laughing because of Force of Negation, yeah? And they don't have... What they don't have is Wasteland. If I try to resolve this Brainstorm, they will probably just Daze me, right? So I want to play around Daze, but I also want to resolve this Brainstorm this turn. So I want to play Cephalid... I want to risk Cephalid here and cast Brainstorm on my opponent's up. Yeah, so they cannot target me with Force of Negation. Okay, they will try to hit a Force of Will here. If they really want to control our game plan here, they need Force of Will and Wasteland this turn. Okay, Daze, I will pay for Daze. Okay, this was just a Daze to force me to pay for my... Okay, I will have an Narcomoeba, I will have 2 bridges. My opponent will need something here. Let's put 2 Stinkweed Imps back. And forcing my opponent to cast Daze at any opponent this game is important because since they have a 2 mana cost vehicle that it is a graveyard hit. Okay, my opponent is conceding the game. Whoa! We are 2-0 with this new Dredge build. And we this time we didn't hit Thassa's Oracle or Satoru. But yeah, Blue Dredge is so strong. Let's go to our third match and see if we can keep winning. Okay, this is our next round. Is it recording properly? Yeah, it is fine. I don't want to hit my microphone by accident again. We are on the draw. This hand is awful. This is a mulligan. Okay, this hand is an interesting keep because I will probably keep Satoru in case we can just play it from our hand right now, in case we draw an extra land. My opponent kept 7 cards. Do we keep Force of Will? Probably, because we have a Blue Peach. So let's keep this hand and put Dread Return back into our deck. Let's see if we can cast Satoru from our hand. If we can't, we can just discard it, right? So let's play Underground Sea and cast Careful Study. My opponent tries to cast Force of Negation, but I have Force of Will. Let's see if they have another counterspell. They don't. Oh, unfortunately no Dredgers for us. Now what? I have Cabal Therapy, I have Brainstorm. So do I still keep Satoru in my hand? Because if I draw a Dredger, I can just cast Cabal Therapy targeting myself and discard my Dredger. This is so ugly. Because my opponent is playing Control, and I probably need more than 1 land to win this game. So my next turn is probably a Brainstorm trying to hit another land. So let's discard Thassa's Oracle and Cabal Therapy here, and pass a turn. Now is my opponent's turn. They play Flooded Strand and passes. And they exiled Lorien Revealed. Okay, so it's our turn now. Golgari Thug. Okay, let's cast Brainstorm. It resolves. Oh, so we are Brainstorm locked, unfortunately. So yeah, the plan with Cabal Therapy was better, but you know what? We tried to hit our second land. We didn't succeed, unfortunately. In case my opponent have any discard spell, I'll put Bridge and Satoru on top. Let's see if you can win this game after 3 turns drawing cards. Okay, my opponent cracked Flooded Strand for a Xander's Lounge. Okay, so Island, Swamp, Mountain. Is this a 5-color control build? Yeah, it is. Up the Beanstalk. Okay, 5-color control confirmed. And we will just press F6 because we have nothing. We pass a turn after drawing Satoru. My opponent... One thing that we can do, it will need 4 turns for that, but we can just discard a Grave Troll due to hand size. My opponent casts Ponder, didn't shuffle, and then another Up the Beanstalk. Okay, let's try to not cast any spells, right? Because my opponent probably will have Force of Wills at any moment. Now the next card that I draw will be something unknown. Okay, Teferi Time Reveler. I will not counter it. I don't have any ways to do it. My opponent just pluses Fairy and plays a Misty. We draw. Oh, the Worldly Gaze. This isn't bad. Do I cast it? I probably cast. My opponent have only 4 cards in their hand. One of them can be Force of Will, but I'll probably cast it. This deck also have lots of removals, so they may have not Force of Will, but instead Leyline Binding and things like that. So Cabal Therapy is going into my graveyard. Okay, do I keep both lands? This is interesting. Do I keep both of them? If I'm correct, my opponents play no Wastelands or maybe only 1 or 2 Wastelands. So I'll probably keep only Misty or only Basic Island, not both of them. One thing that I can do if I keep both of them is just resolve an Instinct with Imp or Golgari Thug, casting Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. Yeah. But I can do this with 2 lands. I don't need 3, right? I can just, yeah. And then I can play Satoru after that. My opponent will have lots and lots of removal in this round. So Satoru is not reliable unless my opponent tap all their lands for some reason. Okay, let's keep both of them. I'll keep Misty and Basic Island. Okay, and let's pass. And if this is in case for color control, this can have cards like Forfeolingas or Solitude. So this is a scary matchup after our bad start. This is already turn 5 and we have only 1 land. My opponent minuses Teferi targeting Up the Beanstalk to replay it, okay? And noticing that they kept 2 white lands open and a wasteland. Okay, so we did right keeping 2 lands on top. And a third Up the Beanstalk, okay? Go there, go Up the Beanstalk. We draw a Basic Island. What else, opponent? What else? You cannot only control the game, you must win the game. Let's see what they can do about it. Now, my opponent draw, plus Teferi. Play what? Oh, Uru, okay. Uru is a win condition. My opponent has another land, Tropical Island, and we draw our other land. Now I have some possibilities here. I'll take Underground Sea. My opponent probably have 4 Leyline Binding and 4 Swords to Plowshares. I can cast Golgari Thug and cast a blind Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent, trying to name one of them. I think this is what I would do instead of just casting Otherworldly Gaze again. Yeah, let's see if my opponent wants to counter Golgari Thug. If they have Force of Will and counters that, it is amazing, because Golgari Thug just goes to our graveyard. So this is not that bad if my opponent just counters and draw 3 extra cards. Yeah, they will counter just to draw more cards. I can get it. Drawing cards is addictive. So my opponent exiles Ponder, and now they are going up to 7 cards again. This is going to be really hard to win, but let's try it. I will pass the turn, my opponent draws, now they have 8 cards. Teferi is going up. I believe my opponent will just cast Uro with Escape. And again, keeping a white land open. Okay, Uro enters the battlefield, my opponent will probably play another land. Let's just press F6 here. It's obviously that I don't have anything. Okay, 2 lands, Misty and Plains. And it's our turn, and we will just dredge 4. Can we win this? Can we win this? Okay, Poxwalkers will come back when we cast Otherworldly Gaze or cast Golgari Thug and then cast Cabal Therapy. Since we don't have any other dredger there, I believe it's wiser to just go for the same game plan that last turn. Let's see if my opponent will cast Force of Will again. Okay, this time this resolves. I will cast Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent, sacrificing Golgari Thug as a cost. And Golgari Thug will put... oh, I didn't... Okay, I target Poxwalkers. Yeah, I did this in a wrong order. I should... Yeah, my mistake. But maybe this is for the best, because if my opponent has white removal, they will remove Poxwalkers. So yeah, I was wrong, but I was right. Alright, I will name Leyline Binding, because this will just draw more cards from my opponent. Oh, can I spell Leyline? Leyline Binding, yeah. And they have 1 Leyline Binding and 2 Swords of Plowshares and a Force of Will. Okay, it's good because our next Cabal Therapy will know exactly what to name. So 1 Binding down. My opponent will draw extra cards this turn, but Uro is their winning condition, right? Okay, now it's our turn again. We will dredge 4. Okay, we have extra dredgers now, and we have Poxwalkers again. This time Poxwalkers will come back. My opponent will probably cast Swords to Plowshares targeting Poxwalkers. And if this Golgari Thug resolves, I will take Solitude from my opponent's hand. Yeah, and since they have Force of Will, just casting Otherworldly Gaze is no good. So yeah, let's try to cast Golgari Thug again. I think this time my opponent will just counter it, just to draw extra cards and so they don't need to think about it. They have some useless dress downs, and they can just use one of them to pitch to Force of Will, or they can just pay the full price. Yeah, and this is what they will do. Just paying the full price for Force of Will. Drawing 3 extra cards. Can we mill our opponent with up the Beanstalk? Okay, my opponent will win in 2 turns from now. Oh, they cast Brainstorm. The only way to survive next turn is to dredge 5, hitting something like 2 Narcomoebas and a Cabal Therapy, and then casting Satoru instead of... yeah, but my opponent will have first Plowshares. My opponent is just refining their hand the best they can with 2 Brainstorms. Probably shuffling back those dress downs that are not that good. So my options here to name with Cabal Therapy are Swords of Plowshares and Solitude. My opponent shuffles. Yeah, they draw everything they need probably. Life from the Loam, okay. So now they will put Wasteland back and I cannot cast anything from my hand. We lost the game, guys, but let's see our opponent's deck a little bit more. We will definitely lose in 2 turns, but let's see what else. If they have some new cards like the previous opponent, or if this is just a traditional build. Let's see what they are offering. Okay, they hit me with Wasteland. Underground Sea goes to the bin. And now they need to discard some cards because they have 11 cards in their hand. Yeah, up the Beanstalk doing some hard work here. Okay, Misty, Ponder, and Lottery Reveal, they still have those cards. Let's just dredge 5. Okay, 2 Narcomoebas. We hit just a part of what we expect. So, but no, okay, my opponent have something? What? Endurance. Oh, they have Endurance, you see? It was important to play until the end. Okay, so they have Endurance. And knowing that, now we need to adjust our game plan. Since this is a 5-color deck, they probably have only 1 or 2 Endurances. I not play only thinking about Endurance here, but let's see. Grief is important against hard control matchup. Ichorid is also good. And probably only that. There is an argument to include Ashen Rider as another threat, but we already have threats here like Thassa, Oracle, and Satoru. Okay, what else? Like almost every 5-color deck, they will probably have a Surgical Extraction, but they also have Endurance. So we need to be fast, but not that fast, because Force of Will can be good, but not that good against hard control opponent. So I take forces. I'll keep only 2 Grief, 1 Ichorid. Maybe I include the National Rider just as another threat. I don't know. We already have many things to bring back with Dredge Return, right? But maybe I include the National Rider. My opponent also can have something like Containment Priest, but I doubt it. Harvester is not that good in this matchup. Bounce spells are not that good. Yeah, let's include the National Rider. I don't think my 5-color opponent will play Nihil Spellbomb or Tormod's Crypt or Artifacts. So they probably have only Endurance and Surgical, or maybe a white spell like Containment Priest. Now we are on the play. Let's hope for a better hand. Okay, this is not the worst. I guess we can keep it. This represents 2 Otherworldly Gazes. I don't want to have Thassa's Oracle in my hand, but well, it is what it is. Yeah, I will keep this hand. This is not perfect, but having Cephalid Coliseum after... Okay, my opponent kept 7. So this Cabal Therapy could name Endurance or Force of Will. I will start with a blind Cabal Therapy here, naming Force of Will, because I believe this is what my opponent will probably have, but they can have a plethora of things. Okay, Force of Will, 2 Force of Will. All right. This was a great, fantastic hit. Now, let's continue the game. The game is not over. My opponent plays Flooded Strand and passes. They have Brainstorm. Okay, do I cast Otherworldly Gaze on my upkeep? Probably. Let's force them to crack that Flooded Strand trying to... Okay, no? Okay, nothing opponent. Okay, so let's keep this Careful Study. Okay. Yeah, some opponents will not try to hit this with anything, especially because they have up the Beanstalk coming next turn, and they will try to delay their possible other 2 Force of Will to cast after up the Beanstalk to have the maximum advantage. I'll crack Misty Rainforest. I'll take another Underground Sea. I don't see any Wastelands, and we have the advantage this game. So I'll play Careful Study. Let's see if this will be enough to force my opponent. Yeah, my opponent is the danger, and we'll try to hit Force Effect. Okay, casts Brainstorm. Or Endurance. Endurance would be great for my opponent here. Let's see if they hit something. A Force of Will. Force of Will, exiting another Brainstorm. So they probably have Beanstalk yet. They still have Beanstalk and probably Uro, because they are great cards. They play Flooded Strand. Now they will cast probably up the Beanstalk. 3 mana, yeah? Okay. My next blind Cabal Therapy, not that blind, will probably name Uro, because my opponent will have this card. It is a great card against us. It can exile our bridges, for example. Yeah, Nakumiba enters the battlefield, so I know that my opponent don't have any endurances. So maybe this is... If we hit our best cards, this can be a winning turn. This can be a winning turn. Or maybe we cannot win this turn, but almost that, let's say. It is hard because we have only a single Golgari Thug, but let's see, Golgari Thug, yeah, Grief Draw, and a Natural Draw. We have Poxwalkers, 1 Bridge, Ichorid for next turn, Cabal Therapy. Okay, we will not going to win this turn, but almost that. Let's discard Golgari Grief Draw, Golgari Grief Draw. We have black creatures. We have 1 black creature to be an Ichorid food. I don't think we are going to the Thassa's Oracle plan right now. I don't think we need it immediately. I want to guarantee my Dredgers and my Ichorid food for the next 2 turns. So let's start like this. Let's take Uro from my opponent's hand. I'll have 2 Poxwalkers. And there is a chance that my opponent just concedes here. If they don't have anything good in their hand, if they don't draw anything good, there's a chance to just, to this play, just win the game anyways. So Uro, Titan of Nature's, yeah, and a Ponder, okay. So let's take my opponent's Ponder, and we have many zombies here. And Poxwalkers comes back. Yeah, my opponent concedes. Yeah, so this was a winning turn at the end. But you see, sometimes Blue Dredge is just that strong. We don't need other things. It's nice to just have other roads to winning the game, but this wasn't necessary. Now what? I think I just submit the deck back. I think this is fine. I will not include Force of Will against 8 forces deck. They have probably now 4 Forces of Will, 4 or 3 Force of Negation, plus many Endurance and other things. So the way we win the game is just pushing them and having plan B, a plan C. So unfortunately this is not good. Let's mulligan. This is almost good. This would be immensely good with Careful Study and Otherworldly Gaze. My opponent kept 7 cards. Yeah, unfortunately I think this is a mulligan, but almost there. Okay, this is our best hand. So we keep it. I will put Ichorid. We only have 1. And this is so bad because I want to keep both of my lands. but I don't want to lose my black pitch to Grief. Do I keep Cephalid Collision, making me more... my opponent don't have many Wastelands, right? And maybe these other early games will find me in my second land. So I'll put Polluted Delta back. Well, let's just have sure here. Yeah, I'm putting Ichorid and Polluted Delta. So this Ichorid needs to be shuffled if I want my Ichorid back. My opponent starts the game. They play Misty Rainforest and pass. Now it's my turn. We draw Golgari Grief Troll, which is awesome. Now I will cast Grief first. Let's see what we need to see. Yeah, it resolves, great. Okay, my opponent has Wasteland, unfortunately, and Force of Will, and Surgical Extraction. My opponent have many cards. And I will take Surgical, of course, but my opponent will probably force my Otherworldly Gaze. I will not do this now. I'll try to pass the turn and then cast Otherworldly Gaze. Let's see if my opponent will cast Force of Will or not. I think they probably will cast Force of Will. Okay, they go to a Surveil land here and just kept the card. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. Let's see if my opponent will let me resolve this Otherworldly Gaze. Oh, they let Otherworldly Gaze resolve. Alright, alright. Now what? I'll mill Golgari Thug. I will keep the land because I know my opponent will just wasteland me here. Unless they have something else. So I'll keep Brainstorm as a plan B, and I'll keep Polluted Delta as my first plan. Okay, my opponent plays Wasteland, as I knew about it. And now I will not mill 4 cards, I will just take my land, and I will play it. Now I'm thinking here. My opponent will just counter whatever I play, right? So I will not play Careful Study yet. The thing is that my opponent can just play up the Beanstalk and have a card advantage plan. But I think I need to draw that Brainstorm. Okay, no Beanstalk yet. I will draw again. And now I will try to resolve Brainstorm first. Let's try to resolve Brainstorm. Because I think Careful Study is stronger at this point. Oh, my opponent let this resolve? Why? Okay, so let's dredge 4. Okay, we have just an Arcomoeba, but we have 2 Careful Studies for the next turns. So I'll put 2 cards on top of my library. Oxwalkers and Golgari Thug. That's unfortunate because I was sure that my opponent will just target my Brainstorm with Force. Maybe they didn't expect me to dredge. I don't know. Maybe they are just not used to play against. Oh no, Uro. So my opponent is holding answers here, probably holding full force of negation. Let's attack first. Let's force them to use their force. They don't have Tundra anymore. They have 2 unknown cards. Let's fire our first Careful Study. My opponent will definitely counter this. No? Why not? I don't understand why my opponent is not firing their forces. I don't understand. Okay, let's try it again. For some reason, my opponent is not seeing the danger. Oh, I see. They probably have Endurance. Yeah, they have Endurance, right? Yeah, now they will play Endurance or Force of Negation. But I think they have Endurance, and that's why. Oh no, this is just a Force of Negation. Okay, so alright. So my opponents now have Force of Will and Uro, and we cannot play around anything else now. Unfortunately, we had mulligans and my opponent didn't. Now let's see if they will cast Uro or not. I believe they will. Oh, Endurance. They also have Endurance. Okay. Okay, we have 2 lands, and now everything will be new. Liquid Imp is not a good card here. We cannot attack because Endurance has Evoke. Has Reach, I'm sorry. So let's wait 1 more turn. And your opponent is not drawing lands. For some reason, they didn't cast this Uro yet. Founder, okay. Shuffles their library and found up the Beanstalk. And they have a Force of Will. And they found a land. Let's draw something good here. Otherworldly Gaze would be amazing. Or a land. Land is not that bad. So I will attack first. I have some options here. I could, of course, just cast this Liquid Imp and force my opponent to do something. Or I can just do the same with Poxwalkers, of course. Or I can go to my land. I can try to hit something with my Surveil land. Many good possibilities here. Let's do the Surveil land route. I still have 15 life. And my opponent don't know what I am holding in my hand. Maybe they just hold Force of Will instead of casting Uro. Let's see. So I pass the turn without doing nothing. And my opponent will attack me with Endurance. Okay. Attacks, yeah. And my opponent is holding answers instead of firing this Uro. So let's crack Polluted Delta. Maybe they have another Endurance. Let's put Undercity Sewers in play. And we'll surveil something. Yeah, Liquid Imp is a great addition to our graveyard. So Surveil lands sometimes are bad when we need open mana. But in moments like this, they are just good. We will dredge 5. We just hit Otherworldly Gaze. So let's attack with Narcomoeba first, and then I will cast Stinkwood Imp. Let's see if my opponent will just exile Stinkwood Imp. It is always a possibility. Okay, they let Stinkwood Imp resolve. So my opponent did nothing on last turn, just passed the turn. Now they crack Flooded Strand for a Xander's Lounge. Okay, they have Leyline Binding, that explains almost everything, and they probably will exile Stinkwood Imp. Okay, they play Mystic Sanctuary because they want Surgical Extraction back, but they don't want this turn because they could do this before casting Leyline Binding. I will draw Satoru the Infiltrator. Alright, I'll just cast Poxwalkers here and be patient. My opponent will have a Surgical Extraction soon, and I will not attack with Narcomoeba anymore. Do they have another white exiling spell? White removal? No? No. Okay, they start with Brainstorm. Place Flooded Strand. Will they attack with Endurance? Now we know that they have Surgical Extraction. So it would be really good just to draw a Cabal Therapy here. Or even a Grief. Well, yeah, we can draw a Grief or second Grief. Or a Cabal Therapy. Let's draw. My opponent is playing a really good control here. Okay, now what? I know that my opponent have many things. Force of Will, probably Uru, probably other cards. Let's start attacking with Poxwalkers. Okay, my opponent let it go. Okay, now what? I don't want to cast Satoru into Force of Will. My opponent have open mana here. So since I have flashback spells, let's just pass the turn. My opponent cracks Flooded Strand for another Tropical. What they will do? A Solitude. So now they are casting Solitude. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze from my graveyard. Okay, another Poxwalkers, Careful Study, Cabal Therapy. Let's put Poxwalkers into my graveyard, Cabal Therapy into my graveyard. Let's keep Careful Study, and my opponent will probably just cast Surgical Extraction, I guess. What they will hit? Poxwalkers, okay. I'll definitely cast this Otherworldly Gaze as soon as I see my opponent tapping mana here. Just a Carpet of Flowers, alright. This is not that good, right? I don't think Carpet will help my opponent at this point. Okay, so yeah, you can deal 6 damage and Endurance. Okay, yes, Endurance. Okay, this is really hard. My opponent now have Surgical Extraction. Unfortunately, this is being harder than ever. My opponent will probably counter this Otherworldly Gaze. Yeah, with Force of Negation. You get this. My opponent still have Force of Will. Careful Study, my opponent will probably just counter it, right? Am I dead? Am I dead next turn? Yes. So I need to put a creature, even if it's just a blocker. My opponent targets this with Pyroblast. Now I'll try to put Satoru. My opponent will finally counter with Force of Will. Alright. And that's it. GG's, opponent. This was a really long game. And somewhat this game was also educational because control matchups are usually favorite matchups for Blue Dredge, but this wasn't. So let's go to our fourth match. Okay, this is our next match. And again, this basic swamp is coming back to haunt us. But yeah, this is a basic island, guys. But this would be a mulligan either way. So yeah, this is better. We will keep and put Narcomoeba back to be shuffled. And now we will play Polluted Delta, crack it. Let's find a basic island and cast Careful Study. It resolves and we found 2 Satorus, okay? But we will discard both Dredgers. And let's see what my opponent is playing. I pass the turn, my opponent draws and plays Tundra and Ponder. Is this control again? Is this Cephalid Breakfast again? My opponent is taking a long time here resolving about their Ponder. Okay, they finally chooses the order. They chose the order of the cards and pass the turn. So now it's our turn. We will dredge 5. And let's try to resolve this Careful Study. Okay, it resolves. We will dredge 4 and dredge 6. We have an Narcomoeba, we have 1 Poxwalkers, 1 Cabal Therapy. We have just 1 Dredger. So I will discard... I don't think this will be a Satoru plan. So I will discard Poxwalkers and go Gargriff Troll. I have 2 chances to hit my opponent's... no, only 1 chance with Cabal Therapy to hit my opponent's hand. And I will name probably Source of Plowshares here because I have 2 creatures. Oh, my opponent concedes. So maybe my opponent had nothing good and they just don't want to reveal their hand. So I know what they are playing. But yeah, this can be anything. Actually, Tundra these days can be... just cannot be Dredge. At least until now, we don't have any white Dredge deck. But maybe in the future. So now what? Tundra suggests to us that Griff will be good and that Ichorid can also be good. If this is Cephalid Breakfast, we know that Harvester or Leyline can be also good. But let's keep this, and since we don't know what my opponent is playing, I will just on the draw, I will take the Satoru. No, I really want to test Satoru, so do I take Satoru from the deck? Because this is a test league. I'm not just thinking about the result, right? It is nice to win, but I need to test cards. So, okay, let's take one Bridge, one Thug, and one Satoru. So I'm taking threats instead of enablers because my opponent is a blue deck, but it is an unknown deck. So my opponent will probably have counterspells, and I don't want to take enablers from my deck against a counterspell deck. But this can also be a combo deck in disguise. So I'm keeping Force of Will on the draw in case they just deploy something really dangerous on turn 1, and maybe I have a Force of Will. If I knew for sure that my opponent is playing control, like our last matchup, I will do different. If I know for sure that my opponent is playing Cephalid Breakfast, I will do different. But this is more of a balanced game plan against an unknown deck with Tundra and Pounder. Okay, my opponent is mulligan. This is a keep. Not a great keep, but it is a keep. We have 2 blue enablers, and we have a basic island in case my opponent plays with Wasteland. And we have Satoru. Maybe this time we will play Satoru from our hand, let's say. My opponent plays Tundra again, but this time they just pass the turn. Now it's our time to draw. Cephalid Coliseum is great. Let's start with Polluted Delta, but let's hope for no Stifle, right? No Stifle, okay. Basic island here, and I'll cast Careful Study. My opponent kept 6 cards. They have 5 cards in their hand. They have a counterspell, a Daze. Okay, so this is a control/tempo deck, probably. But now we have island, and we can cast Otherworldly Gaze twice in this game. My opponent replays Tundra. Let's try to resolve this Otherworldly Gaze. It resolves. I will put Narco and Cabal Therapy in my graveyard, and I will keep my black land here, because next turn I can just cast Cabal Therapy targeting myself to discard Synchro Imp. I can do this right now, but I think I will do probably later targeting my opponent. Let's see what this Undercity Silvers sees in the future. Because I cannot crack Cabal Therapy right now for nothing, right? Sometimes my opponent will just exile my Narcomoeba here. Oh, they have Surgical targeting Cabal Therapy. Okay, so I don't have any possibility to cast Cabal Therapy. It will be really hard to win with the Satoru game plan without Cabal Therapy, but we have other ways to chain dredgers. I'm just seeing here, yeah, we still have our Thassa's Oracle plan. We still have 2 dredge returns. Yeah, so let's see what this will surveil. Another land. I don't think I need another land, so let's put this into our graveyard and let's pass the turn. This may indicate that my opponent is playing something like Cephalid Breakfast. Surgical Tundra, Daze targeting my discard spell. Okay, my opponent plays Misty and passes. Do I cast Otherworldly Gaze right now? I think I do cast right now. Let's see if my opponent will fight for it. No, they will not. So we'll put Gargriff Troll into my graveyard. I think I will keep Brainstorm and Grief. Grief on top, Brainstorm after that. Yeah. And if this Brainstorm resolves, I will have a natural draw before dredging. Let's see. And if okay, it resolves, so I will have a natural draw. Now I'll dredge 6 and dredge 6 again. Okay, I will have a dredge return there. No Cabal Therapies, obviously. We have 3 dredgers, so I don't need to discard Gargriff Troll. We still don't have bridges. I'll discard Foxwalkers and 1 Grave Troll. And let's attack with Narcomoeba. Let's see if my opponent tries to get rid of Narco. And we still don't know for sure what my opponent is playing. They have 4 cards in their hand, and I will cast this Grief. Let's see if now we can understand what my opponent plays. Okay, they will try to counter or hide. They have Veil of Summer? No, Containment Priest. Okay, so this is a control matchup with Daze. Oh, yeah, and this is a Stiflenought. Okay, now everything makes sense. Let's take Swords to Plowshares, and they may keep Phyrex and Dreadnought. We can take Phyrex and Dreadnought in the future. Now, Containment Priest is really good against Satoru, so Satoru will be only a 2-3 menace unless we can get rid of Containment Priest. My opponent plays Wasteland, they will probably get rid of Cephalid Coliseum, yeah. But we are winning this race, unless my opponent has something else. I will dredge 4 here. This Narcomoeba will not get back. No. And I will play Satoru. Let's start the beating. Oh, playing Satoru from my hand is triggering itself. Alright. So, okay guys, Satoru triggers itself when you play it from your hand. I didn't know that. This is my first time actually casting Satoru from my hand. Okay, that's interesting. I don't want to dredge here. None of these cards are good. Let's just have a natural draw. Okay, dredge return is not good as well. And I will attack for 1. Okay, now we know something. Satoru is even better than we knew before. Unless this is a bug. Another one. Satoru doesn't trigger with Hogak, but it triggers with itself. Maybe. My opponent will not attack with Containment Priest, I believe. And let's have a natural draw, and then I will cast Otherworldly Gaze trying to hit another land. Yeah, no good. Unfortunately, Poxwalkers will be exiled, but we need to manipulate the top of our deck. So Poxwalkers will be exiled by Containment Priest, because this is mandatory. Okay, we have our other land. So Breach can go to our graveyard, Golgari Thug can go to our graveyard, and we keep Misty on top. And we are ahead on this race, so let's just attack. And let's attack before my opponent draw another white removal. My opponent will probably attack me, yeah? But nothing else. Now we draw our land. Let's attack first. Yeah, we would like to attack. Okay, my opponent has a Source to Plowshares. This keeps us ahead in this race still, because now I will just play Misty and cast Golgari Thug from my hand. And my opponents don't have Stifle, because if they had Stifle, they would cast Phyrexian Dreadnought. So I can crack this Misty Rainforest without being punished. What, my opponent have Force of Will and is thinking about countering Golgari Thug? Or maybe they are just reading the card. Yeah? Let's crack this immediately before my opponent draw Stifle. Let's take Underground Sea. And we pass a turn. If my opponent attacks, I can just block Golgari Thug and put a Grief on top, for example. Okay, my opponent now have Phyrexian Dreadnought, so now it's harder to win this game, but it is still possible. Because now I will dredge 5 and put Stinkweed Imp into the game. Let's dredge 5. Okay, this Nakamura will just die, unfortunately. No, it doesn't need to enter the battlefield, it will just keep in the graveyard. And now we will try to resolve Stinkweed Imp. Let's see. It resolves, okay. Now what? Do I attack with Nakamura here? My opponent will probably just attack with Phyrexian Dreadnought. I can block with my 3 creatures just to make more zombies. Yeah, I think this is wiser. So let's keep Nakamura to block. And my opponent may have other white removals, so better to keep my creatures to block. Okay, my opponent ponders with the green mana, which makes sense instead of Tantra. They will try to hit another Source of Plowshares. Even Stifle is good here because my opponent can cast Stifle targeting my Stinkweed Imp's trigger when it blocks Phyrexian Dreadnought. My opponent chooses not to use Ponder's ability and draws a card. My opponent is going for their attack. And don't attack. Okay, this is huge. We will just dredge 5 again. And we'll try to repeat here the Stinkweed Imp plan. Now what? Do I attack with Nakamura? Do I attack with anyone really? I'm not sure if just a single point of damage will do the difference here. Okay, maybe I'm just going to... My opponent can get rid of 1 Stinkweed Imp, but not 2 of them. You know what? Let's attack with Golgari Thug. Let's see if my opponent wants to kill one of my creatures. They don't, yeah. So now that I tested my opponent and they passed, I know that I can attack freely with 1 or 2 creatures per turn. Ikorid will stay a little bit longer in the graveyard. We will just dredge 5 again. Okay, now we have other bridges. Let's see if this Stinkweed Imp will resolve. It is resolving, okay. So let's attack with Golgari Thug and Stinkweed Imp. Alright, my opponent is just letting it go. My opponent plays another land. Okay, Uro is really good for my opponent because now they have the advantage. Uro is will just get rid of my bridges. I still have something similar to Death Touch creatures, but Uro is really good. Because now they will stifle Uro's ability? They shouldn't. They shouldn't stifle it. Yeah, they will, but they shouldn't. Because now my bridges is still there. Now I have only 7 cards, so instead of dredging, I will just cast Otherworldly Gaze. We have Thassa's Oracle, which is really intriguing at this point of the game. Because at some point, if I just cast Thassa's Oracle, I can win the game. Let's put Bridge into my graveyard. Do I try to do that? Do I try to win the game doing that? Yeah, why not? But I don't have Cabal Therapies anymore, and my opponent can have Force of Will. My opponent have only 2 cards in their hand. So yeah, let's put Poxwalkers into my graveyard. Let's skip Thassa's Oracle. This Ikorid will stay a little bit longer. And we just draw Thassa's Oracle. And since we have this new game plan, I will not attack. Or maybe I still attack with Golgari Thug just to put some pressure into my opponent. Yeah, why not? Let's just attack with Golgari Thug. Oh, opponent, block Golgari Thug. It's just a 1/1 human warrior. This is human, guys. This is human. This is not a zombie. And next turn, if I resolve Thassa's Oracle, do I win the game? Yeah, because I have Narcomoeba, right? Yeah. So with an Narcomoeba, if I resolve Thassa's Oracle next turn, I just win the game. My opponent needs Force of Will and a blue peach. Force of Negation will not counter Thassa's Oracle from my hand. My opponent plays what? Another rule? Prismatic Ending on my Golgari Thug. Okay, you got this. I'm not sure if this is right, but okay. And they cast it with 0 colors. My opponent did something wrong paying the Prismatic Ending cost because casts with 0 colors. I'm not sure if this is possible. I'm not sure if this is a bug, but this will not affect the game. Now I just have a natural draw. Oh, and we have a Force of Will. Do I wait one more turn? No. Oh, my opponent is asking me, yeah. Okay, so I was just talking to my opponent here. They asked me something about Prismatic Ending. Let's see if this Thassa's Oracle will resolve. Okay, it is resolving. And okay, we can keep Walkers, and we won the game. Okay, we won with a Thassa's Oracle cast from our hand. You know what? I'm here to test Satoru, but I'm really in love with Thassa's Oracle in Dredge. I don't know why. I'm not sure if this is the best build for it. Maybe the numbers need to be corrected, but maybe this is a really good plan. Let's keep going. Hi guys, this is Leila. Leila is my dog. And she was crying a lot because of the church's bells. So, yeah, Leila, you can stay here. Pode ficar aqui. Vamos lá. So this is a weird keep, but I'll keep this on the draw. Pronto, vai. Yes. So, yeah, my opponent also kept 7. So, let's go. They play Volcanic Island. Okay, this is a Delver deck. I will not counter this Dragon's Rage Channeler. I think it's better to counter something scarier than that. And let's not just discard Synchro Imp, right? Let's resolve something here. So I'll take a basic island, and I will cast Otherworldly Gaze immediately. Let's see if this resolve, or if my opponent will try to counter it. Oh, my opponent has Force of Will. So Darcy's trigger resolve first. So my opponent don't know that I will counter back. Lightning Bolt goes to the graveyard. And I will counter here, exiling Thassa's Oracle. I don't think we need Thassa's Oracle in this matchup. So is this Otherworldly Gaze resolving? Yeah. And we'll put Thug, Walkers. We don't need Underground Sea, I guess. Yeah, so let's mill everything. And pass a turn here with already 6 cards into our graveyard. Thanks to Force of Will. Now, my opponent draws a card, plays Misty Rainforest. This is Rogue. Play Delver of Secrets. And attack me for only 1 damage. Dealing 1 damage. Now I will dredge 4, and please Golgari Thug be good to us. Not that good, right? Now what? We have some options here. I can cast Otherworldly Gaze. This will probably resolve because my opponent didn't have Daze last turn. So I think Gaze will resolve here. Or I can just cast Cabal Therapy targeting myself. I don't like that plan that much, but considering all of that, I think this is probably reliable enough. Instead of manipulation at the top of my deck, we already have everything we want. And since we have a basic swamp, so maybe, you know, sometimes the bad comes for the greater good. So now we have a basic swamp to cast this Cabal Therapy, and we are immune to Wastelands. So maybe the basic swamp was a good choice after all. No, it wasn't. But in this position, it is good. So let's name Stinkweed Imp. And now what? We will discard our Imp. We'll have a great thing to do next turn with Cephalic Coliseum. We even have Poxwalkers and Cabal Therapy in the graveyard already. And my opponent knows that. So they have only 2 1/1s. They need to do something. Oh, let me put this in a better place here. So this Delver, will this Delver trigger? Will this? No, it will not flip. Okay, good Delver, good Delver. And my opponent plays another land and another Delver, all right? And nothing else to my opponent. So maybe they have only, I don't know, Wasteland or just many lands. And my opponent is not surveilling anything here. So maybe they don't have surveil lands in their deck. Now it's our turn. I don't know yet if my opponent is playing straight blue-red Delver or maybe with black or green. We will dredge 5 here. All right, all right. You know what? I will not crack this Cephalic Coliseum before knowing what my opponent have in their hand. So I will cast a Dazeable Otherworldly Gaze here. Because if my opponent can just kill one of their creatures in response to my Cabal Therapy, they will do it now. Okay, let's put everything into my graveyard. I will cast my first Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. Let's see if they have a removal for their creatures. No? So what? I'll name Murktide Regent probably. Murktide Regent. Molten Collapse. Okay, let's take it from my opponent's hand. So they have nothing, and we have many zombies and 2 Poxwalkers. So this is Grixis. And we were going to win even without cracking the Cephalid Coliseum. Alright, now I will not play Cephalid Coliseum here, no need. And let's see if those Delvers will finally flip. Yeah, for days, okay. My opponent will probably crack one of their lands because days is not useful here. Yeah, days was useful just to flip Delvers, but not much more than that. And now my opponent will have a fresh draw. Okay, now this Darcy will be a 3-3. Will my opponent attack me dealing 9 damage? Let's see. No, they cannot, because now I can attack for lethal next turn. So they can't attack me for lethal this turn. Okay, my opponent didn't do the math. Alright, because now we have lethal on board. I just need to attack and win the game. My opponent maybe is thinking, well, maybe try to be lucky just hitting Lightning Bolt or something. I will place a Cephalid Coliseum. I just need a single Narcomoeba to block. 2 Narcomoebas after, better saying. But we have lethal on board. We don't need to do anything. My opponent should just keep a single Delver. Oh, okay, they draw something. Okay, they really draw something. Good for them. We can still hit many good cards after this combat phase. This was really lucky. But maybe my opponent just decided to do that because it was the best way to win the game after they saw my zombie army. So maybe I'm making fun of this, but maybe this was the right choice after all. This is definitely not the right choice because now I have many zombies. My opponent should block a zombie because it's not 1 point of damage that will make the difference here. So now I have extra zombies. But well, if you have 10 zombies, you are already winning the game, right? So 4 more zombies, or 2 more zombies, or 3 more zombies. It is more than enough. So I just need blockers. My opponent have no cards in their hand. I just need blockers to block my opponent's creatures in the air. So we didn't find any Narcomoebas so far. And we'll dredge something about 18 cards. So we have many good possibilities here to hit our Narcomoebas. Let's start just putting my Golgari Grief Troll into my graveyard. So I'm casting Cabal Therapy targeting myself just to have more chances to do that. Grave Troll. And let's hit at least 3 Narcomoebas, right? Let's hit at least 3. So I'll crack Cephalid Coliseum. It's now or never. Dredge 6. 1 Narcomoeba. Dredge 6 again. Other Narcomoeba. Dredge 5. 3 Narcomoebas. Right. Let's discard 3 cards here. I can discard Sync with Imps. Okay. And those Narcomoebas will come back. And just to be extra sure, I don't know, maybe my opponent have something that removes 2 blockers. You never know. So let's cast this Dredge Return targeting Sync with Imp. And I'll sacrifice 2 Poxwalkers and 1 zombie. So now we have 4 blockers in the air. And even more zombies and 1 extra Poxwalkers for our trouble. And now, let's see if my opponent can win after that. I'll just press F6 here. I have nothing. My opponent draws and concedes. Okay, it worked. For a moment after I saw that Orcish Bowmasters being cast, I thought, oh, maybe my deck will have 3 Narcomoebas on the last 5 cards and I'll lose this game. Oh, but no. My deck didn't fail. But now we have 2 other games. So let's think. This is Grixis Delver. And the latest Grixis Delver decks are using not only Surgical Extraction, but Unlicensed Herds. So because of that, Chain of Vapor maybe is a good addition. Griff is obviously a good addition because Unlicensed Herds costs 2 mana. And there are Grixis Delver that also play in Hellspell Bomb. So Force of Will will be good on the draw. We could just go for it. We don't need to do many things here to win against Delver. I think I would take the Thassa's Oracle plan against Delver. I'm not sure. I want to include Ichorid because if my opponent hit Poxwalkers with Surgical Extraction, or if they have Grafdigger's Cage, for example, Ichorid is good. Some players have 2 Grafdigger's Cage after sideboarding. Chain of Vapor is not that good because if my opponent can counter it, this is just a spell, right? It costs 1, but my opponent will have Daze and Force of Will. So Chain of Vapor is not that good. But playing Blue Dredge, this is interesting. Playing Blue Dredge, we can win even if my opponent plays a Grafdigger's Cage. Because my opponents don't play exciting effects. So if my opponent play a turn 1 Grafdigger's Cage and we cannot counter it, we just need to hit lands and cast flyers, and eventually we can even win the game. Unfortunately, we don't have Hogak in this build, because Hogak is really good against Delver. But since we are trying to hit the Satoru plan, we are testing it. I think maybe this is just worth it. I will include 2 Grief, and I will take 1 Poxwalkers, and what else? Let's take 1 Satoru. Let's go with only 1 Satoru on the draw. Okay, so this is a mulligan. Maybe you are hearing the sounds of the cathedral here. The cathedral is always ringing the bells. So now this is a keep. No basic lands, but I cannot mulligan this hand. I'll put bridge back. Yeah. And let's see what my opponent will do. They kept 7 cards. We really could use a basic land here. Okay, my opponent starts the game playing Flooded Strand, Cracking It, Volcanic Island, and Grafdigger's Cage. Okay, let's see if what I said just a minute ago will work. So Brainstorm is good. I will start with Careful Study because I have cards that are better in my graveyard. My opponent will probably not counter this, even if they have counters, because they have a protection from my game plan. I will put Golgar Grief Troll, and let's put both Dredgers in the bin and pass a turn. And next turn, as you may anticipate, I will not dredge. I'm just trying to hit lands and then start dredging Stinkwood Imps and Golgari Thugs. Maybe we draw a Grief, and Grief can die with its evoke ability. And then we will have some zombies, for example. Let's see. Delver of Secrets. My opponent has the first threat. This is really good for them. And they played around days here. Surgical Extraction on my Grave Troll. Be my guest. I don't want to hit them. You can take my Grave Trolls anytime. Sometimes I think the players just are curious to see what you have in your hand, right? Because why you would fire Surgical Extraction on a Dredger if you already have a Grafdigger's Cage? So maybe this is some play thinking, okay, if my opponent gets rid of my cage somehow, at least they don't have any Dredgers. I can see the point here, but this is an instant. So probably my opponent is trying to just see what I have in my hand. And now they see that I don't have any Force of Will in my hand. So my hand is just not fast. My hand has no removal. Okay, Nakomiba is good for the future. Let's keep all of them, right? So I'll keep all of them on top. Let's keep the land on top, but I'll play the tapped land. I'm not surveying anything to the graveyard because I want all my cards. Oh, my opponent is Stiflenought. Why? Why? You don't need to stifle this. Because if I wanted that card in my graveyard, I would put that card in my graveyard with Other Legacy. So now my opponent plays Misty. This game isn't over because we need to have blockers. And maybe my opponent have Force of Will, I don't know. What will they do? They crack Misty Rainforest. Maybe they have Murktide Regent already? Yeah, it seems so. So I probably will ignore Nakomiba now and will just dredge 5 here, hoping for no days from my opponent. Okay, and we even have a Bridge from below. This Nakomiba will not enter the battlefield, unfortunately. And we will cast Stinkwood Imp. This will be a grindy game, guys. This will be grindy. It resolves. My opponent pressed F6. Let's see if my opponent will notice that Stinkwood Imp has something similar to Death Touch. My opponent has Stifle, so they can stifle this ability. They attack with Delver. I will definitely block. And I will order these triggers to have my zombie before Bridge gets exiled. My opponent passes, so I will try to do the same again. This Nakomiba unfortunately will hold. And let's try to resolve this Stinkwood Imp. My opponent will counter. Okay, my opponent plays Daze. No problem, I can try again next time. My opponent needs Wasteland here. And if they Wasteland me, I can try to hit another land. Of course, my opponent is favored to win here. But this is not easy for them. It will be much easier against other versions of Dredge, like Turbo Dredge or traditional Dredge, because a Grafdigger's Cage is just hopeless. If you cannot cast reliably, is that word something? If you cannot cast your Stinkwood Imps, you cannot win this game when your Delver opponent have a Grafdigger's Cage. Okay, my opponent kept whatever they saw, and I would just try to do the same again. My opponent probably have a counter spell or a removal spell. We even have other Stinkwood Imp in our graveyard. Let's see if my opponent can do something against my Stinkwood Imp. They can. Another Daze, okay. When I keep fighting against a Grafdigger's Cage, I feel great. Because in certain ways, this is almost like I don't know, one of the biggest achievements that a Dredge player can have, I suppose. To win even against one of the worst cards that your opponents can have against you. So now let's see if my opponent have another Daze or a Force of Will. Okay, we have even 2 bridges. This is our possibly last chance to do this plan because my opponent can have Lightning Bolt. Oh, they will Brainstorm in response, okay? Let's see. Oh, they found another Daze. Okay, we have one last turn. One last turn to try to win this game after a turn 1 Grafdigger's Cage on the draw. My opponent already used 3 Dazes. Let's see if they have a Lightning Bolt to win this game right now, or if we stand a chance. Ponder is good. Okay, my opponent found something. Oh, is this the 4th days? Or maybe a force with pitch? Let's see, let's see, let's see. They lacked what they draw, so I'm not confident. But we'll try. Let's try to resolve this stinky. And they have the 4th days. Oh my god. Alright. 4 days is in 18 cards. Alright. Let's concede here. We tried our best. On the play, this thing is probably better for us. Alright, alright. Now, being on the play. My opponent don't have that many Gravedigger's Cage, right? So, being on the play, I will not keep Force of Will. Instead, I will have Griff and 2 Chain of Vapors. I will put Satoru back and Poxwalkers back. And that's our game plan. Okay, we are on the play, and this is skippable. So let's skip. And we have 2 basic lands. This is not the most fantastic hand, of course, but I will not mulligan this hand against a Delver opponent. My opponent's going to 4 cards already. It gives me the will to just cast a blind Cabal Therapy naming Gravedigger's Cage. Because we can do again on turn 2, because we have 2 creatures to cast and being sacrificed to Cabal Therapy. So maybe this is better than just cast a Careful Study here. Since my opponent had a mulligan to 4. So let's play Basic Swamp and cast a blind Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent. Now, do you have Gravedigger's Cage, opponent? Don't. They have Daze, Ponder, Pyroblast, and the Volcanic Island. Alright, let's see if they will cast Ponder, or if they will keep Pyroblast available. They kept Pyroblast, alright. So in this case, I will cast Narcomoeba. And if I cast this Cabal Therapy targeting my opponent right now, this is a way to just take their Daze, right? And then they just replay Volcanic Island, and that's it. Or maybe I just wait one more turn, or maybe I just cast Cabal Therapy targeting me, and my opponent will probably Daze. You know what? I think I will just pass a turn here. I know this is really weird, but knowing that my opponent have a Pyroblast, I can wait one more turn to do something. My opponent did nothing, as expected, and now they Ponders. Let's see if they will hit their second land. Okay, my opponent kept 1 card, and they are still holding Pyroblast. We draw another Narcomoeba, alright. And if we just had cast a Careful Study last turn, we'll draw this Narcomoeba anyways. So let's attack first. My opponent is thinking here, maybe they just want to hit Narcomoeba with Pyroblast. Maybe. If this is the case, I would enjoy that. Okay, now after this combat, I will do this, because now I can cast my Careful Study completely immune to Daze. Let's take Pyroblast. Yeah, and they have 2 Wastelands, so you see, guys, basic lands are good. I'm not sure why they kept this Ponder. Maybe they have something else after that. But now we will... You know what? They can use Wasteland here, because I don't have any basic lands left. But let's take this Undercity Sewers, because maybe we'll just mill something here. No, just Dredge Return. Okay. And now we will cast Careful Study. Oh, Chain of Vapor is good. My opponent don't have nothing besides Daze here. I will put Golgari Thug and Poxwalkers in my graveyard, and I'll just pass a turn. Now what? My opponent will Wasteland me, alright, and play Delver of Secrets, alright. So they have Wasteland and Daze. Let's play around Daze if we can. We will just Dredge 4 here, have another Orderly Gaze with a Poxwalkers, but I don't think this is the time for that. I will just cast Orderly Gaze right now. Let's play around Daze if we can. Alright, we have Careful Study on top. Griff is not needed at this point of the game. Careful Study in Underground Sea. My opponent will just crack a Wasteland targeting my Underground Sea. But I think it still can be useful at some point. But since we have Chain of Vapor and I know that my opponent don't have anything else besides Daze, let's mill this and keep only Careful Study on top. Yeah, because if my opponent just play Gravedigger's Cage next turn, I know I can Chain of Vapor it around Daze. I would like to take this Daze from my opponent's hand at some point to just take another card. So let's wait a little bit more to hit our second Cabal Therapy. Let's see if this Delver triggers. My opponent had a Ponder 2 turns ago, but no trigger from this Delver. No flipping. My opponent plays Wasteland. Now they have Daze and something else. Let's draw that Careful Study and play it. Let's cast it. I know that my opponent didn't draw an instant, because if they have an instant, this Delver would be flipped. So this Careful Study is really good. And now we have Bridges and Cabal Therapies. That's great. We'll have this Narcomoeba. We can just discard 2 expensive Dredgers. And now we will take that Daze and have some Bridges. Bridges as triggers. And Poxwalkers. That is really good, because this is turn 5. And as I say to my subscribers on Patreon, Blue Dredge is really similar to a Delver deck sometimes. Let's pay for that, because I want to see what my opponent is hiding. So this is a tempo deck versus a tempo deck. I will name what? Murktide Regent? Murktide Regent. Murktide is not even that bad here. Just another Wasteland, okay. So I can even cast Dread Return right now to put a big creature into play and have even more zombies if I want to. But no, let's keep this. I have Channel Vapor next turn, yeah. I could have cast Dread Return targeting Satoru last turn. But my opponent revealed another Daze, alright. So they have only a Daze. Now this will be a really good turn for us. Okay, my opponent can hit me dealing 3 damage, but this game is over. Game is definitely over. Let's draw. We have our basic lands against Delver. Yeah. So now, now this game is over. I am regretting that I just put Thassa's Oracle into our sideboard, because this would be Thassa's Oracle win easily. But we will win anyways. So let's start attacking here. Okay, we attack. This is a good way to end this league with Satoru. We started with Satoru, we will end with Satoru. So now I cast Dread Return targeting Satoru. Of course, this is a win more moment, right? I am a Dredge player. I recognize that this is a win more moment, because we already had this game, and we could reanimate a large Grave Troll here and probably win the game anyways. But this is probably the concession moment for my opponent. They will Daze that. Okay, I will pay for that. Oh, I'll not pay with 1 blue mana, of course. I'll pay with a black mana. But maybe they want to see. Okay, so Satoru triggers itself, and I will Dredge 6. And now I will cast Cabal Therapy, targeting my opponent, sacrificing 1 Poxwalkers. These Poxwalkers will come back, Satoru will trigger again, and we will Dredge 5 this time. Alright, this Cabal Therapy finally resolves, but we don't need to name anything here. And we can do it again. Why not? So let's do the same thing again, just to Dredge a single extra time. You know what? I will not even Dredge, I'll just draw here. Yeah, polluted out, okay. And I will just cast Dread Return targeting a flyer right now. So let's sacrifice 2 Poxwalkers and a zombie. And we have multiple bridges triggers. We can of course Dredge 4 here. Yeah, our last Poxwalkers was there. And let's just draw a card right now. We don't need to heal ourselves, because Tinkwith Imp will get here, and Satoru will trigger again. We will just draw an extra card. And this would be amazing if we had the Force of Will in our deck yet, and just trying to hit Force of Will, for example. Let's just play Cephalid Coliseum. And yeah, let's pass the turn. We even can discard some cards here, and my opponent will draw something. We have Channel Vapor. We didn't need to use this Channel Vapor. So this is an overkill. My opponent will cast Wasteland on my land, and just passes the turn. Okay, my opponent will wait to see if I will heal myself. I will just put this Ichorid back. I will not Dredge anymore, just cancel. Let's draw a card. It's an Archamoeba, and we will attack for more than lethal. Even Satoru is attacking as a 2/3 Menace creature. But let's not celebrate, because my opponent can have something weird like Kozilek's Return, I don't know. Oh, my opponent is saying, your deck is super sweet, thank you. Thank you, you're on YouTube. Thank you, opponent. Alright, my opponent concedes the game. Okay, we won this last match. This is a 4-1 with good taste, because this could be a 5-0. We lost to a control matchup. Control matchups are usually favored matchups for us, but we didn't find the right combination of cards there. I think this is a good way to end this league, because this is just a testing deck. This is not a refined version. This is my first attempt with these 75 cards. So let's do a review of this new build and see if it has legs, or if it was just luck. Let's talk a little bit about it. So is this deck the real deal? I think Satoru is a new card, and we are just beginning the tests with it. I think probably Satoru will shine in other builds as well. This was just a first attempt. This was actually not my first attempt. I had other 2 leagues playing Blue Dredge 4.0 and 4.01 with a slight difference before this league. But my both previous versions had Hogak in the deck, and since I know that Hogak is not working with Satoru on Magic Online, I prefer to just... Alright. We are aware of issues with Prismatic Ending, Lavinia Azorius Renegade, and other cards that care about how much mana was paid. Current workaround: float mana before casting spells. We aim to have a patch in place in 3 hours. this probably means that they will work on the Hogak thing. I hope so, because Hogak cares about how much mana was paid or how this mana was paid. So maybe tomorrow Hogak will be a good card with Satoru again, and I will finally record the gameplay with Hogak. Because yeah, let's hope for the best here. Because if Hogak wasn't a good fit with Satoru on Magic Online, I just I lost a game because when I first cast Hogak with Satoru in play, I left some cards with Brainstorm on top that I want to be milled, and it was just not happening, and I was quite frustrated after that. So I just thought, well, maybe let's try a crazy idea with Thassa's Oracle, and let's see if this is a good plan or not. And you know what? I was really surprised by that. Thassa's Oracle. Who could know that? I think the same way Turbo Dredge has a turbo plan with anger, but just by attacking. Maybe this is something that we can consider in the future to Blue Dredge, because sometimes with Satoru, especially with Satoru, we don't need Satoru to win. We had Thassa's Oracle win without Satoru in play, but maybe Thassa's Oracle is a good fit in Blue Dredge, especially when you have those grindy matchups, as we had some opportunities to see on this league. Or maybe this is just not needed and we can win by other means. But I think this is a good way to at least try something new in this archetype. I think maybe Thassa's Oracle can be used as an alternative win condition in a deck that is already winning without it. But sometimes, for example, as we had that amazing win with Thassa's Oracle just being cast from our hand against Stiflenought. I loved that match. What was your favorite match of this league? I hope you enjoyed this league. Really, really hope you enjoyed it. And this is Satoru week, so I will keep playing another build with Satoru. So just stay here for another gameplay, maybe tomorrow, maybe in just 2 days, in a couple of days. I will do my best to keep posting new videos with Satoru until we find the best list with this new and amazing card. Oh, and we already tested Harvest of Misery with a good effect on our game against Cephalid Breakfast. What do you think about? I'm sorry, I'm tired. What do you think about this card? Is this a good card or not? Let me know in the comments below. What did you think about Harvest of Misery, Thassa's Oracle, and Satoru the Infiltrator in Blue Dredge? And I hope you enjoyed this, and let's do it again with another Dredge deck soon. See you. Bye.